Right, so this is a piece of glass that I salvaged from the side of the road. It's about 3mm thick, float glass. It's got a slight tint to it, which isn't ideal, but whatever, I can deal with that. So the plan is to give it a good clean. Sorry for banging the table. And if you hear like woohoo sounds, that's the kids playing Animal Crossing upstairs. So the idea is to give it a good clean, both sides. Probably clean my bench as well, it's pretty disgusting. Then I'm going to get my circle cutter, which is just a suction cup, an arm and a diamond wheel on the end. Cut out maybe 6 circles, about 82mm in diameter, and then stack them up. Well, actually first I'm going to clean them again in hydrochloric and then stack them up in the kiln and slump them together into a thick disc, and then lower that down to 860 and let it soak for a bit, and then cool it down to room temperature very slowly, and I should end up with a quite tough glass window for the front of the device. I call it the device because I haven't settled on a name yet. Oh man, I think I just scratched my glass just with a touch from the diamond wheel. The other thing I want to try is chemically hardening, because I've got some potassium nitrate, and I can make a ceramic bath in the kiln, and I think it's 400C. If you leave some glass in molten potassium nitrate for a while, potassium ions sort of migrate into the glass and make the surface tougher. So I'll give that a shot too. And I'm hoping to make something quite robust. Alrighty, thoroughly cleaned, used lots of metho, so let's give it a cut. The first circle. Okay, that's lined up. Score it a bit deeper. Oh, that sound sucks. Tell you what. Okay. I shouldn't put that down diamond side. Okay, that circle you can see there was me testing the diameter. Right. Where's my glass snapping pliers? I'm completely unable to find my proper glass snapping pliers that have the right sort of grab geometry to snap glass nicely. So I'm just going to use some multi-grips. So in addition to the circle score, I've also scored these lines here and here to give it sort of the preferred way of snapping out this corner. So safety glasses on. Wow, tough glass. Well, turns out this was safety glass. Righto, let's try that again. So this is just some float glass out of a picture frame. It's quite thin though, so this is why I didn't use this up front, because I have to make, I want to build a stack that's about 20mm thick, so I'm going to need a lot of these because this is only like 1.2mm or so. Righto. Kind of more difficult to keep it still. That's the proper sound. Oh, already getting cracks I don't want. You made a river? Yeah, see, I don't know if it's... Sure. Bit of crack there. Yeah, you can put your water in that river if you like. Yeah. Not over near this table, Sammy, because I'm cutting glass here and I'm worried that the glass might go down and get on your face. Okay. So it's going to fail due to that, but might learn something from the failure. Cool. That was nice.
Soak into the hole. Mom, what is this? Soak into the hole they're gonna make.
Very nice. The little crack through there is not a problem, given I'm going to put this in the furnace.
What are you going to do after that?
I don't know, Sammy. Ah, well, you know, it's as good as I could reasonably hope for a first shot. Well, a second shot, really.
River's pretty
Right,
good.
I'm going to make a few more of these and
Done?
clean them up. I didn't bother investing a bunch of time and effort in cleaning the glass meticulously before cutting it this time.
Are you not going to break that glass?
No, I didn't break the glass. Sammy, look at my circle.
That's a big circle.
It is a big circle. Alright. So, this is our stack that, oops, they're roughly 82 millimeters in diameter. This whole stack is just under 16 millimeters thick. So I've gone through and cleaned them all with Metho. Shell bought me a 25 litre bottle of Metho. And so now got them all stacked up. There's some cracked ones in there, but during the slumping those cracks will form up, and then during the tempering the structural problems will go away, I hope. So my initial target was 20 mil thick, but for first shot 16 should do the trick, I feel. So now it's time for the hydrochloric to clean up all the rest of the oil and hydrocarbon impurities and stuff on these, and then from that point it'll be gloves only until they go into the furnace. And the furnace is up there, so I have to get that down, program in the profile, and kick it off. Right, so got a glass bowl, some hydrochloric, don't know what percentage it is, 320 grams per litre. The outside of the plastic bottle is kind of weeping, which is a bit weird. Don't know what's going on there. So this is in a well ventilated space, so I've got safety glasses and gloves on and so on and so forth. And I'll be disposing of this hydrochloric in an environmentally friendly manner, etc, etc, etc. Okay. Just going to pop all of these in here. Just let them sit for a bit. I found this step to help when I was doing my glass casting. So I would get some glass bottles and I'd crush them into frit, and I'd get better results melting that frit into a slug if I washed them in hydrochloric beforehand, let them soak for a little bit. Okay, one more. Looks like I nearly perfectly judged the amount I need. Okay, I've got a bit on the bench here. Bit of stank coming off this. should have really got a lid ready to go on it. Righto, I'll leave that for a bit and should have some nice clean glass out of it. So here it is after it's been fired. It didn't come out perfect, but I think it's probably usable for current purposes, maybe. So you'll see there's two main defects. There's this big one across the top here, and then you can see a smaller one through there. So that smaller crack happened when I was heating up the glass. I think I heated it up too quickly and it went pop, and it sort of spat that out the side of the stack. I was able to sort of nudge it in with a metal rod without having to take it all out. But that top one was broken before I put them in, and I thought that it would fuse together, and it has to some extent, but not to the extent I would have liked. So you can see the edges are rounded over, so it did sort of start to form together. The edges have fused to some extent. You can still see the laminations, but they mostly formed together. So that was with a top temperature of 775 Celsius, I think, which was the recommended tack fuse temperature, I think, for float glass. But it's still quite hot, still about 150 degrees, or maybe 100. It's probably cooled down a fair bit by now. But the bottom texture is pretty good, so that was with the sanded batt wash. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm thinking I might do this again. This one's perfectly usable for current purposes, but I want to do some destructive tests on it to see just how tough it is. So the next step is to grab my bag of potassium nitrate over there, make a bed of potassium nitrate in this glass and melt it all together and let it sit at 400 for a while, and then let it cool, and then get the glass out of that. Somehow I'll probably have to add some water to it to dissolve the potassium nitrate and fish the glass out, and then I'll do my destructive testing. Because it's sort of like worst case. I think the next one I do, I might use some thicker float glass, and I've got my circle cutting technique a bit more sorted out now. Okay, bye-bye. So here's the window after its second firing. So the first firing it was up to 775 degrees. This one went up to 785. So it's still quite hot, so I'm being careful. It's still really hot. Where's my gloves? So just looking at it, I can see that the sort of edges are a bit more amalgamated together. So there's sort of like more syrup sticking the pancakes together. Not that I'm hungry. So that looks to have melted together a bit further. Now I don't know if that's just because it spent more time at temperature, or whether it's an effect of the higher temperature. I'm going to need to run some more tests. I'm going to head to reverse garbage this weekend and pick up some more float glass and have a poke around to see what, that touched my thumb. See what other, it's only about 100 degrees. See what other glass products they have that might be close to what I need them to be. So the repeated firing hasn't affected the colour at all, which is something I was worried about. It's not like crazed or anything, but you know, it's pretty damn good. The crack in the top is sort of getting shallower, I feel. Now I don't know, like, I'm going to have two copper O-rings, one that mates with this face and one that mates with the reverse face. And only one of them is really critical for keeping stuff out, but the other one is critical for evenly transmitting force into the glass. And so if there's any sort of defects in the surface, then that can lead to force concentration, and there's not a lot of flex in this glass, so if there's force in one place, it's going to cause So it's not going to be able to sort of deform to spread that force out. It's just going to pinch in that one spot. So I am going to do the potassium nitrate bath on this one, and then I might destructively test it. I don't think I'm going to build an enclosure for this one. Something else I want to improve on for Mark II is the edge texture. So the cutter was set to produce an 82mm circle, but due to my fairly shambolic circle cutting skills, there were a lot of bumps on the edge as like little fragments of glass and stuff poking out, so it didn't really give me a clean edge. I could rig up a grinder arrangement to sort of grind the edge flatter, and then I can probably refire it to sort of smooth out the effects of the grinding. But I don't know if I'm going to bother. Because I can lathe the enclosure to suit this to some extent. Like I can make the glass, that's a bit of a uncontrolled variable. Like I can't lathe this glass to a particular size, but I can be really precise with turning the actual enclosure to suit a given window. So I've got a bit of flexibility there, but I'm going to potassium nitrate bath this one, and then do some destructive testing with dropping a steel ball bearing onto it from increasing heights to find out at what point it fails and how it fails. Righto, so here is furnace, here is glass bowl, here is bag of potassium nitrate. So the plan is, put this piece of glass, which is the second fired one, is the one I fired twice. Put it in here, cover it with potassium nitrate, and then put it in the furnace and ramp it slowly to 400 degrees. That will make the potassium nitrate melt into like a goo. And I've checked this glass is denser than molten potassium nitrate, and so then the potassium ions will, in theory, migrate into the glass and make it tougher on the surface. Got to use a glass bowl because this stuff loves to steal hydrogen off anything it can. So lots of metals and basically any hydrocarbon will react with this stuff quite violently. So I don't want this to touch anything. And the worst possible case is that I heat up too slowly and this breaks, and it dumps a bunch of molten potassium nitrate inside my furnace, which would be real bad. It's water soluble, so it's not the end of the world to clean up, but I really don't want that to happen. I've just noticed this has got max 50 degrees Celsius written on the bottom, which is not great. I'm not sure why. I mean, it's glass. I'll give it a shot. I might get this up to 400 just by itself, make sure it doesn't explode. That might be worth doing. I also want to use something big like this to give it lots of thermal inertia, because if there's not much in the furnace, then it way overshoots at the ramp. If I say ramp to 400 degrees over the course of an hour, it'll start the coils and then they'll go boom, shoot straight up to like 200 degrees, and then it'll adjust back down again and heat up more slowly. But that's the plan. Okay. Well, I had a peek through the window and saw some cracks in the glass, and yeah, at least I caught it before the potassium nitrate melted. That would have made a much bigger problem. So I've got the furnace up to temperature now. It's it's almost finished its period at 400 degrees Celsius with the glass slug in molten potassium nitrate. So it's developed this lovely sort of bubbly brown texture. That's what it looks like fresh. And I've melted potassium nitrate before and it just goes like clear. So I'm not sure why it's all bubbly and brown. I wonder if it's sort of eating the glaze on the terracotta pot I've got it in. Maybe. I decided against the stainless one for fear of it just explosively oxidizing when it gets up to temperature. But, see how it goes. Bye bye. So here is the glass that's been fired twice and soaked in potassium nitrate at 400 degrees for an hour. Afterwards, I gave it a gentle donk with a hammer, just because I like the sound of it, and it's sort of cracked it a little bit. So it's a weird crack. It's sort of like a truncated cone with a small circle at the top, and then the crack seems to extend downwards in a circular, expanding crater kind of fashion. It's kind of hard to see unless you get the light just right, but that was surprising. Like, I feel as though I'd hit the glass with a hammer harder than that prior to the potassium treatment, and it hadn't cracked. So I don't know whether the potassium treatment weakened it, or it was just a fluke. They got the right angle. Maybe there was a speck of grit on the hammer in that particular spot, or something like that. Or whether it was either the chemical or the temperature effect of the potassium treatment that has had the opposite effect I wanted. What I was intending to do is set up a ruler and a guide channel and then drop a steel ball bearing onto the glass from increasing heights to find out at what point the glass would break. That would give me a measurable number to determine whether my treatment had made it stronger or weaker. But because I've cracked it with a hammer, that's kind of ruined the merits of that science. So what I'm going to do is, I've got another stack of glass. I'm just about to put that into the acid to clean that up, and I'll fire that glass and refire this one at the same time. Then I'll use this one for destructive testing, and I may or may not do the potassium treatment on the other one. I had a look up, read some papers, and apparently for commercial potassium hardening they leave it in there for 30 hours, and reports vary, but anywhere up to 450 degrees. One of them says 300 degrees, but potassium nitrate doesn't melt until 325 or so that I can discount that one. But yeah, so I'll remelt this one to fix up that little bleb. Then while I'm doing that, I'll fire the others in the same batch. Then I'll do the ball drop test to get some numbers on how strong this is. I'll do those in another video. Okay, well, bye bye.